Hey, welcome to the Backyard Professor live show. I'm starting a couple of minutes early tonight. Isn't that cool? So I did not get a thumbnail up. And so people were probably wondering, oh my gosh, is he going to do a live? Yes, I do lives on Sunday evenings because that's the best time for me to do them, and I enjoy doing them. So in the news, some interesting things about 3i Atlas. It is still behaving just like comets behave, even with its said anomalies. It is still flying out there. Hey, Mark Telfer, how are you? It is still flying out there in space like a comet does, etc. I had this big, whoop-de-doo spiel about 3i Atlas I was going to share. I've got several different video clips and stuff, and I'm not going to lie to you. I'm tired of this subject. 3i Atlas is to the point to where, now they're inventing stuff to make it more anomalous. Now there's some odd things about it, etc. And they keep talking about 3i Atlas as if it's anything but a comet, but it still keeps acting just like a comet. So I can't add anything new to this subject that's not speculatory and guesswork and perfectly untestable until we wait for it to come out from around behind the sun. So just like I thought, all kinds of new types of questions and issues are going to be brought up about 3i Atlas. People put out the silliest stuff out there, and the world just flocks to them. It's astonishing. It's absolutely breathtaking. It's very interesting. So we're doing good. We're doing good. So tonight, this is typical backyard professor idea. I forgot I was going to, hold on, I've got to go grab something. I'll be right back. I'm going to leave the screen. I start the show and then I leave. Woohoo! Welcome to the Backyard Professor podcast. I'll be right back. Don't go away. Okay, I'm coming back. Here I am. Hey, welcome to the Backyard Professor live video podcast, whatever. Okay, so here we are. Yes, he does, Galactic Family Podcast. Randall Carlson has a great 3i Atlas video, and I watched some of it today. I didn't get all the way through it, but it was fun to watch what I saw. So anyway, like I was saying, this 3i Atlas has been exhausted. It truly has at this point. And now, of course, is the big conspiracy. The government shut down just as it was passing. So this is proof. NASA doesn't want to share with us the mothership, etc. And people are jumping all over, going bonkers over it. And it really is stupid that our government shut down. I'm not going to get into politics. Every time I do, everybody cries because what I say nobody likes. And they like the conspiracy theories and all that stuff. So I want to keep it real, so I stay out of politics. Thank goodness. Anyway, all right. I'm going to share something with you that I've been doing for the last month or so, and it has become my favorite hobby. And I'm going to show it to you, some of it, because I'm going to encourage you all to start doing this. And you can do it with any subject you want. But I have what I call my esoteric journal. It's got the Tree of Life on the front of it. Now, it's a leather-bound book, and it's hand sewn. You see those leather strands through there. It's cotton paper, very thick, heavy, old cotton paper. And it's absolutely beautiful. It's all, you can see that it's hand sewn in there. And it's several hundred pages thick. It's a pretty thick volume. And so what I've done is I'm turning this into my esoteric journal. It is beautiful, and it's fun to hold. It's fun to touch. It's fun to open. It's fun to write in. It took me 2 weeks after I got the darn thing. You can buy them online. It took me 2 weeks to even begin starting it. But I thought, what do I want to put into this kind of a journal that the leather, it's going to last forever if it doesn't get in a flood or whatever, or a fire. What do I want to put in it? And I thought, well, I could make it like a spiritual journal, an esoteric journal, because the esoteric stuff I have always studied my whole life. And it got me in trouble when I was a Mormon for quite a while too. But and so I'm doing the esoteric stuff in this, and it's an absolute blast. This is my opening page. There's the Tree of Life. And some of them have different stuff carved on them. Some of them are just the leather. But I opened it up, and there is what I call the symbol for truth, my holographic codex. And what I've done is I've amassed different symbols and what they stand for. In the center is the cube of space, the blue, and the Star of David, the hexagram. And then as above, so below, I've put in Hermetic, and I've put in Rosicrucian, and I've got John Gee's Monos Hieroglyphicae in there, and the Greek columns, and I've got mathematics, infinity, phi, and pi, and I've got E equals MC squared, and I've got music represented by the harp, and I've got the jewel in the lotus, the Om Mani Padme Hum, this lower symbol right here with the spread, the winged sun disk, etc. Got art represented and nature and the esoteric stuff. So I come up with that as a fun way to, if someone ever found this after I'm gone and opened it up, they go, oh, wow, that's interesting. And I do give a full explanation of each of the symbols individually, as well as their full context in this. And then when I turn the page from this, I've been doing my art. And there is my picture of the phoenix that I just finished, actually, my watercolor. And I had a blast doing that. And of course, the phoenix is the bird of renewal, resurrection, and all that jazz. So, and then there's my preface. And I explain in my book, I say, this is my tome where I explore, investigate, and learn. I share, I unlearn, I share some more what reality is. Is it spiritual or is it physical? Both? Who cares? The point is not looking for the answer, but enjoying the journey. Now, I love symbolism, art, philosophy, science, all the stuff that puts people to sleep. But this gives us a chance to wake up. And therein lies a tale, as I shall both say and show in this esoteric journal. I'm 64 today at 8/24/25. I wanted to put how old I was when I started this thing. And I was born 1/12/61, and then I signed it. Then after that, so I've got my holographic codex, the phoenix, and what the phoenix represents, my preface. You turn from the preface, and you get the 3 pillars. Now, I've deliberately kept these very simple. These are the 3 pillars. And what I mean by the 3 pillars of the esoteric is I've written a page on each pillar, about each pillar. And on this page, I've got my vine coming through that I painted at the bottom of the page. This first one is the hologram of the infinite. My second pillar is the holographic veil. And my third pillar is the codex of the infinite mirror. And I try to explain the huge universal picture right up front in these three pillars. I think the model for all of my esoteric studies is going to be our ascension. Ultimately, that's what this particular esoteric journal is going to be about, ascension. And then on this page on the bottom, I painted a mountain range and I explain why. Then I describe the holographic codex. On this page, I've got the Ouroboros, and I explained the symbol of the Ouroboros and why it's significant. I'm gonna use various different esoteric symbols throughout the course of this journal and explain their meaning and how they tie in with this or that, or how science and spirituality merge, how science and spirituality differ, you know. I'm going to explain some of the science, and I'm going to explain some of the spiritual stuff. Then on the other side of the Ouroboros, I just finished this painting yesterday as well. I've shared it with a few friends. There is Hermes Trismegistus riding on the emerald tablet. Now, I would put him as in the top 5 of important esoteric people, even though he's just legend. I don't think, I really doubt he actually existed. In fact, I'm pretty sure he didn't. But the esoteric idea within Hermeticism, and he's wearing the sacred hood of Thoth, the Egyptian scribe god. That's why there's an ibis on that hood. And he is inscribing the emerald tablet. Now, Hermes is the messenger of the gods, right? He's the one that carried the messages between the worlds. So I put him next to the gate. And a gate beckons you to go into enlightenment. We're going to leave one place and go into the place of light. And that's why he is next to the gate. And I painted that a while ago. And then I describe what a gate is on the next page. I give a discussion of the spiritual and physical significance of a gate. It's kind of interesting. Then here I've done an expounding of D's Monas hieroglyphica. I'm not sure if you've ever seen this before, but there's the symbol. Then it breaks apart into 4 sections. It's Luna, Sol, Elementa, and Ignis. And then I compare the divine name Yahweh. And when you put the Yod He Vav He on top of each other, it signifies the divine man. And this is an all-encompassing inclusion of the Kabbalah tree of life, Keter, Chochmah, Bina, and Malkuth. And then I describe in a brief page, I'm going to have pages and pages of the Monas hieroglyphica for sure, without question. So I'm going to do that. And then when I turn the page, I now get to King Arthur, and I'm in progress. He's holding Excalibur as it's glowing. I'm painting him, and I've got Merlin down here. I've got Merlin right there, smoking a pipe, and the dragon's coming out of the pipe. The smoke is in the form of a dragon. And then, of course, Stonehenge. And I put them next to Stonehenge because the ancient legends say that Merlin is the one that built Stonehenge. And so I give a little bit of discourse on the interesting aspects of a rock. And you go, dude, you flipped your lid. No, I have not. There really is a seriously interesting philosophical, as well as spiritual, as well as physical dimension to a rock. And I use Stonehenge as my picture for that. And then I have my first essay, Infinity, the Spiral of Becoming. And this is about an 8-page essay. And what I've done in this essay is I've gathered my thoughts, some of the science, some of the mathematics, etc., of the importance of infinity. And I've drew Anaximander, the first Greek to actually talk about the apeiron, the infinity. I put him in there. Each page is going to have a section where I can put a picture as I'm discoursing on infinity. I've got a couple of these done. There's my tree on that page. And there is the tarot card number 10 in the major arcana. And I'm describing the idea of a circle and the symbolism of the tarot card with that circle. And then each page, I have some blank space where I'm going to be able to paint various types of pictures. I'm not done yet. I want to put phi up here, something to do with phi up here. And then down here, I've done some lovely little flowers. It's really funny how this works. I'm going to share this with you. I made a mistake happened here that I did not plan, but it worked out beautifully. I don't know how this works, but I was writing, and here where I'm writing, I said, I'm talking about the quantum wave function. And the more precisely we try to pin down reality, the more it dissolves into probabilities in the quantum world anyway. And that is without end. The wave function embodies infinite possibility until consciousness tunes it into form. And it just happened to be that the paint spread into that sentence, into the word into. Consciousness tunes it into form. The blue paint went over into the word, and I wasn't intending it to. And I thought, all right, that's cool. That's what you call a fun little coincidence. And so anyway, each page has, I've written it ahead of time so that I can put various types of pictures. And it's a lot of fun. That's a pretty big essay on infinity. And that leaves me the rest of the journal. I'm going to put in Hermetic. I'm going to put in Kabbalistic. I'm going to put in Native American. I love the idea of the Navajo sand paintings and the Hopi kivas and their ceremonies with their Kachina dolls, the star people. And I'm going to paint some Kachina dolls, and I'm going to paint their sacred landscape with Orion up in the sky and the various mesas and all that jazz. I'm going to include the ancient druids. I'm going to include King Arthur and the Holy Grail, Merlin, Stonehenge, the cosmic alignment from Earth with the great stones from antiquity, etc. And so this whole thing, once I get it all done, it will be, and you can see there's several hundred pages of hand-sewn cotton pages into this leather journal. And it's absolutely a wonderful meditation. But by the time I'm done, this thing is going to be power-packed full of information. I was just looking up stuff in, what's his nose? The Secret Teachings of All Ages by Manly Hall. And I was just starting to look at the various, there's Pythagoras and all those guys. Oh, and the Pythagorean stuff, all is number, the esoteric stuff. And then you've got the tarot, and you've got all kinds of stuff. You've got the Ark of the Covenant of the Hebrews. I'll be talking about that. And then you have the Renaissance with the Hermetic Ficino translation of the Greek magical papyri and all that kind of stuff. And you've got early Christianity, and you've got ancient Judaism, and you've got Buddhism, and you've got just all sorts of, the African tribes have some incredible spiritual things, as do the Australian Aborigines. Their dream time is a very important component of their thinking. So I'm just trying to cover the world anciently and not so much modern, but some of the relevance up to the modern world in this esoteric journal. I suspect I'll be able to fill this in, what, 2 or 3 years, and then I'll get another one and keep on going, because there really is that much to it. But I'm going to share just basically all I know about the esoteric stuff, and that's what so many of my books are all about. I've got a lot of books on the historical Jesus. Well, there's a lot about the mystical Christ that I guarantee nobody studies or knows about. A lot more than in the Bible. And it's utterly fascinating to get through. And the various figures, people, whether historical or legendary, Osiris, for instance, Christ, Osiris, Horus, all of the ancient Egyptian stuff is fantastic. The very idea, the very meaning of the word hieroglyphic means the sacred writing. It was meant to communicate from earth to heaven and from heaven to earth. That's why Hermes Trismegistus, writing on the emerald tablet, is so important. The fun thing that, I know I zipped by it pretty fast, I didn't mean to, but I don't want to bore you with all my art, but I deliberately painted this picture with a mystery in it. Not him inscribing the emerald tablet, but that candle. What is up with that candle? How come there is so much light from just a small candle? You see, there's something else going on here that if you don't think about it, you'll never get, and so you lose the mystery. But there's more than just physical light going on. And you'll notice the green glow on his fingers and on his face, etc. That tablet is glowing also. And the lore of ancient shining stones, of shining material, Excalibur glows. There's a meaning to that. Not that it literally physically did. We don't know. I mean, it was thrown back into the lake, right? To the Lady of the Lake. She's got it now, according to the legend. So you get all this kind of stuff with King Arthur and the Knights of the Round Table. Legend says there were 12 of them, and they match the 12 constellations of the zodiac. And so the Round Table was the cosmos. And so the search for the Holy Grail, they call it the cup of Christ. That's the code word, right? It's not just a cup that held the sacred blood of the slain Christ, as the legend says. They're hiding the holiness through an earthly metaphor, and it's beautifully done. But once you know the Round Table is supposed to be the zodiac, that takes you to the universe, the skies, in search for the Holy Grail. And what are you going to find there, you see? And then that ties in Hercules. And I can't wait to paint Hercules in here too. I'm going to use the Greek myths, absolutely. I mean, you've got the Delphic Oracle, right? You've got Plato and his story of creation in the Timaeus. That's spectacular stuff, man. So, but you got Hercules and his 12 labors. 12 labors, that's Hercules, which, according to some lore, is the constellation up in the sky, and he is going around the zodiac, each one of the 12 zodiacs, one of the 12 constellations, and that's his 12 labors. And then you've got this fantastic book by one of my favorites, and I will be putting a lot of his stuff in here, by John Michel, 12 Tribe Nations, Sacred Number in the Golden Age. Why is the number 12 so significant in antiquity, you see? And I want to capture that in my esoteric journal. I want to be able to paint my own art, come up with my own essays and analyze the really incredible, the 12 gates, the 12 signs of the zodiac, the 12 holy men in council. The number 12 is ubiquitous, the 12 tribes of Etruria. There's just so much information, and especially numerology. You know, I get it. It's quackery according to modern science. I don't give a damn about what modern science says about the esoteric, but I do give a damn about what the esoteric says about modern science. Isn't that an interesting kind of a lopside, you know? You get the famous I Ching symbol. Yeah, you start studying the Tao. So there's just all kinds of fun stuff that make it every one of the digits 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Actually, all the way up to 20. But I have most of the good stuff is the first dozen numbers and what they each signify and mean from the ancients. You know, it didn't begin with Pythagoras, fascinatingly enough. Now, he brought it out to the Western world, sure. Because of his fame, he was one of the traveling wise men. He was the Sophie. He was the Sophia. Or I'm not the Sophia, the sophist. Not the sophist either. What do you call that when they're wandering? The 7 wandering wise men. I can't recall the Greek right now. Anyway, it's not a big deal. He got it from Egypt because that's where he went. Plato got his information from Egypt because that's where he went. All of the great Greeks, Eratosthenes, all of them went to Egypt. That's where they got it. Now, some of the legends say that hieroglyphics just showed up overnight. There's no real evolution of the script as such. And that's because Egypt is not a history, it's a legacy of something that went before it. And Plato hinted about that when he brought up the story of Atlantis. Now, I'm not saying that because you study the esoteric materials and you try to find connections that you have to believe they're real, but it is the meaning, it's the symbolism, it's the idea and the philosophy that has carried forward all the way up to our day, of which modern organized religion, here comes the conspiracy, modern organized religion has suppressed. Why would they do that? What is it that they don't want you to know? Why were the early Christian Gnostic writings submerged, suppressed, destroyed? How come all of a sudden everyone who didn't think like those in power became heretics and they were burned at the stake or killed or whatever, rocked to death, stoned to death, and all of their scriptures were destroyed? We're very fortunate that some of those have been found and come back. The Hermetic materials, the Gnostic Nag Hammadi library, etc. All of that stuff, the Rosicrucian stuff coming way up several centuries, the Masonic lore, the Hiram legend, the Rosicrucian stuff with the Rosy Cross, etc. All of these wild, weird, mystical mysteries are just absolutely fascinating with their symbolisms. So that's what I'm doing as my hobby. I love being able to put it down in words, and I love being able to put it down in art because it's a meditation. And it's, for me, it's just absolutely delightful. I'm going to get into the scientific stuff of relativity and quantum. And, you know, Newton was far more of an alchemist than he was a scientist. By now, that's pretty common knowledge. He spent more than half his life studying the esoteric stuff and the alchemy than he did science. He spent more time on that. That has been suppressed by the modern scientists until it could no longer be held back. And now it's come out that, hey, wait a minute. You don't get to say Newton is your atheist forefather. Newton was not an atheist. Yeah, he wrote Principia. Yes, he came up with the famous laws of motion, etc., for the scientific enterprise. That is because he was studying what they called in his day, the 15, 16, 1700s, the book of nature. Atheist? Oh, hell no. Isaac Newton was anything but. He was steeped into the spiritual traditions of the ancients as well. Well, that's fascinating. And then you get the alchemical stuff. Oh my gosh. The symbols and the ideas behind alchemy are so bizarre. And yet they have a very, I'm going to say this wrong. I shouldn't say they have a very simple meaning. They have a hidden meaning, of course, yeah. And of course, they're always throwing you off in their descriptions because they don't want just any Joe, Dick, or Harry to come to the light, because it's a sacred light and it will destroy you. So this is weird. Out of the love for the truth, they kept it back from the masses, because you don't give razor blades to babies to play with. You keep it away from them for a while until they can grow, mature, get their motor skills up to speed and all that. And once they start growing whiskers, then it's okay to give them a razor blade. But you don't give babies all kinds of, you don't leave your medications out in open for little 8 and 9-year-old kids or 4 and 5-year-old kids to find and start swallowing all those pills. No, that's not what a responsible human being does for other human beings. There is there's kind of a, what would you call it, a step-by-step process that you go through to do that. So anyway, man, that's enough about me. I'm just letting you know I am having an absolute ball doing this. It might be something you want to think about doing. I'm finding it so refreshing to be able to think back on all this gobbledygook that I've been studying for years and years and years, and reading, and my analysis of mathematics, and the various vision quests of, say, Black Elk Speaks, his magnificent book by Neibauer, Black Elk Speaks, and Black Elk's Vision, the Native American shaman, the medicine man, just at the end of the 1800s, when he saw his people almost completely wiped out, and how to maintain that cord of connection between you and your maker. And his vision is just utterly profound. I want to add that into my esoteric journal. So there's what I've been doing. Let's see what you guys are up to. All right, here we go. What are you guys talking about? Anything fun? Oh, yeah. Are you guys starting to act up? Yeah, I figured some would. Yeah, there's people that just have to, be ridiculous, right? All righty. I will get some mods, yeah, because you guys like to be in the chats, and it's kind of fun to get together with friends and talk fun stuff and good stuff. So hopefully we can all be adults and get along. We'll see. Oh, and plants and medicine and the idea of DNA, absolutely. I will be using that in my esoteric journal as well, without question. Oh, thank you. Yeah. Yeah, it's watercolor. I paint in watercolor. Yep. Yeah, that's kind of a good description of it. Professor's Rosetta Stone. That would be fun. What caused my interest in the loss of chess, I just haven't had time to keep studying it. That takes a serious investment of time, and I'm in my 60s. And there are, quite frankly, more important things for me to do with my time than play chess at this point. So maybe after I retire, I'll pick it back up, but there's so much else that I really do want to do. So, anyway, thank you. Yeah. The UFO updates, yeah, I've got UFO updates, but they're all speculation, except for what actually, Representative Burchett was on just one day ago. And I do have the clip set aside. Would you guys like me to show you what Representative Burchett said just one day ago? That is really, really remarkable for UFOs. Let me know in the chat real quick and I will go to it. Yes, the pillar colors were significant. They are the primary colors. Now, granted, that one's rather pinkish, but it's supposed to be red, yellow, and blue. And from the primary colors, all color shows up. So, yeah, that was the idea of the pillars. And then I decided to put 3 significant cosmological / spiritual esoteric essays together covering the whole cosmos. And that's where the hologram of the infinite, the holographic veil, and the codex of the infinite mirror reflect each one of those pillars. So, yeah, good question. Good question. All right, let's see what you guys are saying. I'm going back through the comments. Bashar, is that guy that claims he is channeling some kind of a space entity and it's giving him the total picture and the truth? If so, I've watched a couple of his videos and I don't buy anything he's talking about at all. He was entirely 100% wrong on 3i Atlas. Everything he said about it never happened yet. I get it. The show's not over yet, but it's not going to happen. I will put that out. So, yeah, Bashar just doesn't impress me much. Yeah, there is a 3i update. There is. Yes. Okay. Yeah, it was. RGB, yep. There you go. Good point. Yeah, I should have a completely black page for the darkness because there is no light without the darkness. The dark is just as esoterically charged as the light, believe it or not. Yeah. Okay, let's see. Yeah, there you go, Timmer. Turn your phone off and you have a black mirror. Yes. Yeah, the 4 elements are absolutely included in this esoteric journal. Earth, air, fire, and water. Absolutely. From the ancient point of view. Yeah, I'm not done. I'm just barely started. As you can see, I've only got like 30 pages and it's 300-page book easy. Okay, let's take a look at what Burchett said. I've got the whoops. Wow, where'd that come from? No, what's this? What on earth happened? Wow. That is weird. Are you guys still here? I think I blanked out. Holy Toledo. That is crazy. What is going on? Okay, there I am. Wow. Did I blank out or did you guys? I hit a wrong button somewhere. All right, hold on. Present, apologize about that. Share screen. Yeah, there we go. That's what I was looking for. Okay, here we go. I wanted to see, this is the one. This is the interview he did with Newsmax. Him and Avi Loeb were on Newsmax together. And I'm going to skip what was said about Avi Loeb and go to Burchett, because what he said was really kind of interesting. So let me back this up just a little bit. Okay, here we go. Okay, Avi gets done here, and then we hear from the senator.
In that direction, although we don't know the plane, but it comes from that direction in the solar system. So basically, Congressman, I know you just heard all of that. Dr. Loeb wrote the UN about this, saying this should be looked into. We're going to have the best pictures we've had yet from Mars of this thing, unless the government hides them from us, which they could do. Have you been briefed on this, Congressman?
I have not. And I'll tell you, one of the reasons I admire so much Dr. Loeb is what he said. You know, we can learn from science. You know, he's not one of these arrogant jerks out there that looks down upon everybody else. He actually enjoys explaining it to folks like myself. He's a hero in this movement. And he's also a pretty brave guy because he takes some pretty tough stands with his scientific data.
I know.
Yeah, this is the kind of thing that we need to be briefed on. You got to wonder what our scientific community, NASA and all the rest are doing right now. I realize there's a shutdown going on, but this is occurring before the shutdown. And
this thing is heading our direction, Congressman. Yeah, I just want to ask you about one other issue while I have you. Sorry to cut you off, sir. You received intelligence that suggests that there are perhaps deep water alien bases right now sitting on the ocean floor on this planet. Is that accurate?
I would say that's pretty accurate.
Can you go into more detail? How long have they been here? Where are they?
Well, I'm extrapolating all this with my East Tennessee vernacular. So we've got five or six deep water areas of our oceans. We actually know more about the surface of the moon than we do about these areas. And these are areas where we have a high frequency of UFO or UAP sightings. We've had naval folks have told me pretty high up that they've actually tracked these things. Now, we have stuff that can go underwater probably 30 to 40 miles an hour, maybe something a little faster that the Chinese haven't stole from us yet. And we've tracked things big as a football field going 200 miles an hour. Now, I realize in the water, you extrapolate that to knots and all that, but just for good old East Tennessee common sense, 200 miles an hour, something the size of a football field. And we don't know what it is. And these are in these areas. So yeah, there's something going on there. And whether it's something that's been here for millennial or whatever, and I'm not afraid of it. I'm kind of like Dr. Loeb. I love to study this kind of stuff. It's the scientific material there he's the one that disclosed some things that were found that were extraterrestrial in our oceans. And, he's brave enough, I believe, to come forward with those. So I'm looking forward to some more talks about this, but I think I've kicked the hornet's nest because it was just in a casual conversation with a blogger and I discussed it. It wasn't in a classified setting, so I could talk about it. But I always remember the last thing this one high-ranking official told me as he left my office. He was right close to me as I am to my phone in my barn right now. And he said, Tim, they're real.
Dr. Loeb, hopefully these images come out soon and we find out what this thing is. Congressman, great to have you on. Appreciate you making the time for us. We'll have you back as well. Thank you.
All right. That's pretty much what I wanted to share with you. And the reason that I thought this was cool is because we are a year later than when I started. I've been on doing this UFO subject for 1 year. And I distinctly remember when he came out, it hasn't been a year ago. It's been 6 or 7 months ago, though, where he came out and he said the same thing. He said, And Richard Dolan's coming out with his trilogy of books on USOs, and I bought his first one and reviewed it and all that jazz. And then the subject began picking up steam, as usually happens every time Richard Dolan puts out a book, because he researches so very well and he's so impressive of a historian on this subject. And I believe it was Burchett who also said, yeah, these USOs, there was a gentleman who told me, high rank official, they're real. We can't even begin to compare our technology to theirs underwater because they go so fast. Well, here he's saying that the Navy apparently has tracked them at 200 miles an hour underwater, and there is nothing we have that can compare to that. And then come up out of the water and just continue right up into the air, or vice versa. Come from the air and go down into the water, and don't even lose speed coming to the water, and just keep right on trucking as fast as they were going. So this is truly a reminder. And in fact, I'm going to put aliens in my esoteric journal as well. Why not? Extraterrestrial life. That's what several of the ancient mystics talked about. Ezekiel's wheel in Ezekiel chapter 1 in the Old Testament and all that jazz. Jesus ascending to heaven, just like the UFO people do. They ascend up into their craft and then go to heaven. Stuff like that. So, yeah, this USO thing. Now, Dolan's first book, I've been doing some research on the backstory of some of his early accounts about the luminescent sea and the captains of some of those boats in the 17 and 1800s as they were going across the ocean or whatever, and they would be looking, and this light under the ocean would be traveling at 180 miles an hour, stuff like that. And it just blew their minds. Wow, they didn't know what it was. They didn't, of course, speculate it was USOs, but they were intrigued. And there are enough accounts that it became really intriguing. I am studying some of those accounts and getting more in-depth information to see what it was they actually could have been seeing. And I understand the idea of wanting to give us a historical context, but I think on a few of these accounts, and it's not Richard's fault, but Dolan is not correct. I never dreamt I would ever say that on a live show or a recorded podcast, but there's a couple of accounts of USOs in the 1800s where, and Dolan is cautious. He's not being like these YouTube content creators making all kinds of wild guesses and stuff. He is attempting to situate this with some of he's sharing a historical evolution of the USOs, and it didn't just start in 1945. He thinks it can potentially be traced back to the 1700s. Now, he's correct. Potentially, it can be tracked back to the 1700s if what they're seeing cannot be explained naturally. And in one of the accounts that I've been doing some background study on, and I've been analyzing the data and the mathematical calculations and the description, the physical description of the captain, he's not saying it's alien life, but Dolan is trying to put it in that category when in point of fact, there actually is a stunning naturalistic explanation. And one of these days, if you want, I will do a video on that. It's more of a historical interest and on. That is certainly not at all to take away anything from Richard Dolan. It's just that I find it intriguing. People say the same thing about Ezekiel's UFO in chapter 1. Now, I'm one who kind of likes to entertain that idea. Who doesn't like the idea of UFOs in the Bible, and then you go to the ancient Greek and Hebrew and you start playing around with the translations of the languages, and you find that the word clouds can be also translated as UFOs using our modern parlance. But the clouds, whenever a cloud comes and leads the Israelites and stuff like that, we could modernly say, yeah, that's a UFO. That kind of stuff is just intriguing to me. It really is. Not that we have any final answer, but it's fun to look into it. That's what Avi Loeb is saying to do with 3i Atlas. And we have been. And so far, it's just a comet with some really fun, interesting anomalies. So far, it's just Ezekiel seeing a wheel. It may not be a UFO. We just don't know, etc. Well, so far, this one USO account that Dolan includes, and it's actually one of the more famous ones, as it turns out, I think I've found what the naturalistic explanation is. And it'll be fun to share it. So, yeah, it will be really interesting to see. Yeah, something up with the clouds. Yeah, true. So I will do that. Fun stuff. Okay, so do any of you guys have any questions? I've been going about an hour, not quite an hour, but I'm just getting started here if you want to keep talking. What do you want to talk about? Everyone is psychic. We're just less developed than others. I think there might be something to that. Thank you. Yeah, I'm having fun with my journal. I would encourage you to do it. If nothing else, it's great. It's a great way to calm down. I'm really serious. And I kind of get hyper energetic. Sometimes I go off the handle like crazy, and my wife hates it. And I can't blame her. But, being able to sit down and just write or paint or whatever, man, there is something therapeutic to that, very seriously. And the state of the world now, yeah, we all need some kind of something to do to have therapy. Mark had a couple of book thoughts. Not sure how you can illustrate them, though. One is the 5 human senses. I could illustrate those. The other is sound, and I can illustrate sound. Possibly even various light waves. I actually have a painting on the table being prepared for just that. Very cool, isn't it? Yeah. Earth, the planet of the apes. Yeah, we are the planet of the apes. We're still monkeys, according to what's his nose, Gary Nolan, right? He gave a recent interview that I thought was kind of interesting. Yeah, and I agree. Paul Shields, I wanted to recognize what Paul Shields said too in that clip. Thank you for pointing this out, Paul. The Newsmax title is totally clickbait. Yes, it is. Yeah, it has nothing to do with approaching Earth, and yet that's what this guy at Newsmax said. It was amazing. Avi didn't correct him, and neither did the congressman. It's all good. It's not a crime, but yeah, it's not even going to be close to Earth. In fact, it's going farther and farther away. We're coming around the sun, but by the time the comet gets around the sun and shoots out toward Jupiter, it'll be long gone. So kind of interesting that. Yeah, and I am also going to include the female esotericists in my journal. Absolutely. The various Marys, very important in the New Testament theology. Doesn't matter whether you believe in it or not. It's irrelevant to the esoteric tradition. You've got Isis in the Egyptian. There's a lot of females involved. Really kind of cool. Who's my favorite X-Man? I don't know. Is the Hulk an X-Man? I don't keep track of all these things. I just buy the T-shirts at the local dime store. Right? John Schroeder, this is a good subject. I am still having a hard time getting anything tangible for believing in the subject, UFOs. What is some undeniable proof that you have, BYP? I don't. Nobody has proof. Proof is a personal attitude of when you have enough evidence, you'll believe. But two people can look at the same evidence and come to opposite conclusions, truly. And it doesn't even matter if they're within the same community. I mean, I saw this several times when I was an apologist in Mormonism. Someone would translate and interpret the scripture to its obvious meaning, and I could find a completely different meaning using the same information. It's the same thing with the UFOs. So I don't know. I think Dolan's historical perspective is one of the real things keeping me in the game, though. I truly do. The old, now, thank goodness, declassified military records, those that aren't redacted too much so that we can at least read them. Those are very, very telling. The interviews of people with people who have had experiences are also quite intriguing. I wouldn't classify it as proof as such, but it is quite intriguing. Always fun to look through. Yep. The Great Gatsby of Henday. Oh, are you talking about The Cross of Henday? That was a great book. I've got it here somewhere. It's kind of a... Oh, here, I've got both of them. The Mysteries of the Great Cross of Henday, Alchem in the End of Time, Jay Widener and Vincent Bridges. Fun read. Really, really remarkable, interesting interpretation of symbols and their meaning for the end time that was supposed to happen at 2012. Fun stuff to read. And then the other guy that I have found personally truly tremendous is Ananda K. Kumaraswamy, The Door in the Sky, Kumaraswamy on myth and meaning. The mythologies are the true stories couched either in esoteric terms or in symbolism that if you take literally, you completely miss the boat. And that's the fun of studying symbolism. It's the parable of the, finger pointing at the moon. We all look at the finger, and that's not where to be looking. That's not what to be doing. So, all right. Good to see you, Plasma State. Thanks for coming in. I will. I'm on it. Yeah, peek behind the veil. Vitruvian Man. Good question. And yes, I will be putting that in. Was there ever a Vitruvian woman? Good question. I'll look into that. I know there were some very, very important. I mean, Marie Curie, who discovered radiation. There's significance there, The women are half of humanity, and they wouldn't possibly have been left out of the esoteric tradition. Oh, thank you, John Schroeder. That's very kind of you. So let me thank you for the contribution. So without proof of anything, then why are you faithful in this actually being true? And what is your justification for continuing to push it as truth outside of having faith in this UFO subject? Great question. Yes. I have proof, but it's not going to convince everyone because some people need different kinds of proof. When we say proof, it's not going to be in the mathematical sense of mathematical proof. It's going to be, for instance, what keeps me in this game? It's not proof, but there's enough to it that I think there's reasons to continue looking, and that is the historical record. As Richard Dolan has expounded in several of his books, there just appears to be something valid here. And then you have the testimony of Congress people and senators and high military officials and scientists and journalists. And interestingly enough, it's not just for the elite hoity-toity either. It can also be for John Q. Public. And it's very important to recognize that proof, the bar is different for different people. So I don't know how to objectively give proof on it. I don't think, see, in this sense, it's very much, as Diane Pasulka says, it's actually a religious quest. One part of me that bothers. Another part of me, I'm okay with it. But I also want the scientific side to have some validity with this. And it doesn't have as much as I was hoping it would. So there's a lot of work left to do. So that would be my justification. Whether it's good or bad, I'll figure it out someday. So, yeah, that's fun. Thank you, John. That's very cool. Yeah, I saw that about the angry astronaut, man. That was horrible. Oh, thank you, Paula Basson. Thank you. You know what? Heiser Soze, I have seen you post this before. Thank you. Research Maro Biglino into the ancient Veda and Sumerian tablets are telling the truth, while all religions are just rewritten in order to push a specific narrative. And I told myself the other day when I saw you write this on another channel from a video that I am going to look into him. So thank you for being here tonight, for one thing, Heiser. And thank you for saying this again. I was wanting that name. And I will write it down right now. Mauro, Mauro, Biglino. I believe you talked about him translating the scripture and showing how it's been meddled with, etc. I will look into him. Thank you so much for that reference. Yeah, and this is the other thing. Thank you, Eric Red. Government said they got bodies. See, how long ago has it been? A couple of months ago when I got on a, you know me, sometimes I just get on diatribes. I don't mean to, but, sometimes I'm in the mood to just spit fire. And other times I'm in the mood to just take out everything. So, yeah, a couple of months ago, I made that video on disclosure. You want disclosure. We've already had it. The government is very clear. It has aliens. I mean, if you're waiting for the government to speak up, you are behind the times, man. But the question is, why aren't they showing us the evidence? But they're definitely claiming, yeah, but biologics. Oh, yeah, we have biologics. We've got the bodies. Yeah, the ships. Yeah, we've got the ships. We don't quite have the photon torpedoes yet, or the little phaser guns that they used on Star Trek, but we're working on those. Maybe they're reverse engineering those too. But yeah, so that's interesting. Thanks for bringing that up. And here's another point. Again, Heiser, thank you. I personally don't need confirmation. I've had my experiences. I'm only in this game to watch humanity get their confirmation. Hopefully it'll come in our lifetimes. Yeah, right. Of course, and now I suspect you would say, well, that's up to you. And I am 100% in agreement with you. That's up to each individual. I came to that conclusion a long time ago. Yeah. So, yeah. Hey, here's an idea. For that kind of stuff, you got to go straight to the Greek and Lady Babylon. Yeah, I'll be into the Greeks and the Babylonians without question. Yeah, I know, but I try hard not to. UFO Busters, that UFO show Australia. Hello, my friend. Yeah, I love it when you get upset and rip into people. Yeah, and you know that's probably not the best way to do it, but sometimes I really get a short fuse. I mean, all you have to do is mention a couple names, and I'll bet you know which ones they are, and I get lit right up. And I don't mean anything personal by it against anybody that I so supposedly rip up. Because look, I deserve a good thrashing too, a lot of the times. So, you know, you can get frustrated and short fused, but then forgive and forget and move on, because we really are trying to all just find the same stuff, right? We're all in this together. So, yeah, you might have a little argument or spat, but don't hold on to it forever like dinglings do. Let it go and move on, right? But yeah. That might be right too. Yeah. Yeah, but a lot of people can't take constructive criticism. A lot of people can't take criticism at all. They're so weak. And I suspect if I was to tell you I'm thinking of a certain politician, you'd be able to name him. So, Danny Jones episode, I will. When you ask, do you think K51 is real? Do you mean Area 51? If so, yes. My answer is yes. I do believe it's real. We love a grumpy professor. Yeah, but don't you like an enlightening professor too? I mean, yeah, it's fun to get grumpy, but crap, I can't make a living being grumpy. Of course, then I can't make a living doing YouTube videos either. This is just kind of fun gas money as far as that goes. Well, Jay Hardesty, now this is fun. I suspect you're talking about Mauro Biglano. He gives the original translation of the Bible. There is no such thing. All translation is an interpretation. So be very careful when people make that kind of claim. That's not quite accurate. He might give a different translation based on some other linguistic data or evidence that he has from the tablets or from wherever else in the ancient Near East, and that's viable. But yeah, original translation, there is no such thing. I don't think so. Yes, the South American ancient civilizations. Thank you, Richard Waiwuri. I hope I pronounced your name correctly. What about the South American ancient civilizations? I guarantee you we're looking into them too. And if you mean esoterically in my journal, I'm also doing that also. But yeah, I mean Machu Picchu. Boy, you got all kinds of stuff in Chile. You've got the Nazca Peru stuff. Oh, I'll tell you what. There's a lot of good stuff down there. And with UFOs also. So, see, there's just so much. There's so much work to do. And that is the... Now, look, thank you for bringing this up, Richard, because RD6 Killer Clark now has 3 or 4 books where that is where she's going into the South American, well, mostly Mesoamerica, but South America peoples, and getting interviews of the UFO people, visiting them, and they're doing it all the time, nonstop, constantly. And we here in the United States, at least, they might be doing it over there in Europe also, but in the United States, we say, well, why don't the UFOs go park on the White House lawn, etc.? But that's putting our bias onto them. We think Washington, D.C. is the most important, but that doesn't mean that's true. According to the aliens, we aren't even important enough to come down and talk to, hardly. But there are people in the world who are, and they are visiting those people. You know, kind of makes you feel mad. Well, I want to be special too. Well, tough luck. You know, that's up to the UFOs who they're going to talk to or not. You can't command them Prove to me you're real by showing up in our nation's capital, and then I will believe. They don't give a flying flip who or what you think is important and valid. Just, once you recognize that, then interestingly enough, you can begin to grasp and appreciate and understand and live with the anomalies. That's kind of weird how that works. But very interesting. Oh, well, thank you, UFO Busters. Talk about the book of Enoch. Boy. I'll tell you what. Still my favorite one. I've got them around here. Oh, they're scattered all over the place. I'll tell you what. You mean for a podcast, a video? I'll put something together on the book of Enoch, but only if you'll watch it. There is actually several books of Enoch. And, it depends on whether you're an academic or whether you're a preacher or whether you're just a John Q. public like myself. It would change which book of Enoch you would find to be the most impressive one and the most important one. For me personally, I think I've got it right here. Hold on. I think the Hebrew, the third Enoch, the Hebrew, and it's the later dated one, but I think that one is by far and away the most important one. Without question. I'll tell you what. I will grab all of my Enoch literature. I've got several of the books and scholars and all that crap. Some of the mystics and those people. I will get them all together and I will do a video of the book of Enoch and try to put it, in a context that you can appreciate and understand. I understand I've watched a few of them, not all of them, but I haven't gone overboard trying to watch the YouTube videos on Enoch. There's a few really good videos on it, and then there's some others that go wackadoodle, and they go blitzoid off into the wild blue yonder, into La La Land. It's weird how the ancient spiritual tradition brings that out in some people. And that's why I'm trying, and this is so weird because I'm trying to keep the esoteric within its own context, keep it on a ground level, and yet it keeps taking off into the universe. So the ground level of the esoteric is exactly the spiritual woo-woo that science can't stand. It's bizarre, isn't it? You kind of go, whoa, talk about a hot potato. But yes, I will. Oh, well, thank you, Peta. Yeah, sometimes I am grumpy. Enlightened, huh? Oh, you like the esoteric stuff too? Well, okay. I'm just trying to, cover all grounds, but you want esoteric, I'll give you esoteric. It's pretty spectacular stuff, in my opinion. So, yeah. In fact, I'll write this down. Book of Enoch presentation. Now, yeah, what makes Enoch fun is because it's blasphemy to most organized religion. That's what makes it fun. Now, it's just outright stupid to someone like Neil deGrasse Tyson, who has no spirituality in him at all. He is such a materialist that there's no way he can see any validity in it. And I understand that too. But when you take that middle road, when you study the esoteric, you don't become more spiritual by becoming anti-science. And that's in my infinity essay. that I've written for my journal. In fact, I'll read this part to you. This is one of the most important insights I've ever had. If I can find it real quick. It's toward the end, I think. That's reverberating strings. Might be where I put this. I'll tell you what. Let's see. Oh, criminy. It was similar to Einstein's comment. I kind of reworded it somewhat. Well, what physicists often call anomaly, mystics recognize as revelation. That's one idea, but that's not what I wanted to share with you. I said something like the relationship between science and the esoteric, science and religion. Oh, here we go. Here we go. Oh, it's not about religion. It's about infinity. So, okay. So let me read just a part of this. I promise it'll be worth your effort. Enlightenment is not cessation. It is expansion into subtler resonance. Love is not a summit. It is an infinite widening. Infinity transforms existence into a voyage without finality, a creative unfolding without conclusion. And what that led me to say next is, when science denies infinity, it starves imagination. When spirit denies science, it loses grounding. But when the two embrace, when the equation meets the silence, truth becomes whole. Yeah. So I'm not anti-science just because I'm keeping an esoteric. You can't be spiritual and be anti-science. That's what I'm saying. Einstein knew it well. Bohr knew it well. Heisenberg knew it well. All of those guys, de Broglie and Werner Heisenberg, all of them. It was very interesting. Anyway, yeah. The angry backyard professor. Yeah. Yeah, Area 51. Yeah, that's a good point, Mark. What do you think about the Orb Network talked about on Area 52 a few weeks back? I have not seen Area 52 for a few weeks now, so I can't say anything yet. I'll have to get back on to him, though. He's good. I like Chris. Yeah, what do you think about the Gobekli Tepe dig being halted after only 2 months? I have not looked hard into Gobekli Tepe yet either. There's just so much I can do. I will look into it. I promise. Yep. That's a good point too. Oh, okay. You guys are saying, yeah, do Enoch. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. I think Enoch is absolutely fascinating. You know what makes him so fascinating is because there was so little said about him in the Bible, thank goodness. And so therefore what happened was, centuries later, people got for lack of a better description, I don't know what happened, but I'm going to say it this way. I'm not teaching something I say is the absolute truth, but someone back in 2 to 100 BC got the spirit back in them and began to write about the visions and the ascensions of Enoch and what happened, right? We wouldn't have had any of that if the Bible would have described a little bit more about Enoch. So it's kind of cool. Yeah, it's a fun subject. Yes, excellent point. Here, I'm going to make this. Thank you, Jonathan Heasley. Have you noticed the two sides of the UAP issue, the nuts and bolts side and the phenomenon, the spiritual side? Yeah, very, very much. It is, and it's so interesting because I came in with this idea that we are not spiritually prepared for UFO disclosure. That's what got me started a year ago on this entire subject from a religious point of view. And I immediately found several people. The most famous, the easiest to remember is Diane Pasulka, because I bought a couple of her books and read them and reviewed them. But there are several others who go along that route. And it is an interesting route. But again, it's not the end all be all, because I believe, I suspect, and here's where I don't have the evidence. I believe there is a nuts and bolts aspect to this. I'm a no one. I'm a peon. Nobody's going to share that with me. Back engineering craft, they're not going to contact me anytime soon and say, hey, come check this out. Let us show you what we've got. No, that won't be me they contact, but I think it's happening. So, great point. Thank you. Anyone know someone who looks like Charles Bronson? Yeah, Charles does. Great question. Galactic Family Podcast. Why is it, Backyard Professor, that religion seems to be the one key thing that they try to suppress? In other words, like the book that came out called Adam and Eve, and the CIA had restricted it or changed it. I have not heard of the CIA restricting any religious text or suppressing it, but I absolutely have heard of religions, churches doing that. In fact, Martin Luther wanted to get rid of the book of Revelation. Were you aware of that? Yeah. He didn't like it at all. I believe it was Luther. I may have to double check that, but yeah. So yeah, it is interesting that's the one subject where, well, I mean, and what is, you can get into this sticky theological gobbledygook forever and never come out right. What is the biblical canon? Did you know it's still not settled? Look, we're thousands of years down the road, and there is still no agreement on what is scripture and what isn't. The Catholic Bible has the Apocrypha in it as valid scripture. The Protestant scripture doesn't. They threw the Apocrypha out. The Mormons added more scripture. The Book of Mormon, the Doctrine and Covenants, the Pearl of Great Price. In the Ethiopian canon of the Bible, it's really remarkable that the book of Enoch was just before the book of Job in the Old Testament. They had it canonized. Isn't that interesting? So Enoch was scripture, according to some Christians in the Ethiopian church, which incidentally, legend says that's where the Ark of the Covenant is. It's in some place in Ethiopia. If you read the Graham Hancock stuff and all those guys, they've been trying to track down where it is. Indiana Jones never did find it, dang it. And did you know that Indiana Jones, the movie, is based upon a real-life character who actually is the one who discovered the crystal skulls? Or at least invented them, depending on what story. I got that from AJ on the Y-Files. It's kind of fun. Yeah, this whole topic is just intriguing, isn't it? Yeah, it's really weird. Uh. Okay, I got good and bad news for you, Brett. Would love to be let loose on your book collection. I'd be lost there for years. Yeah, now you know. I have been lost here for years. And this isn't the only part of it you're seeing either. It goes all the way down that wall. And it's in that end of the in that end of the room, and then it starts way back there in that corner, and it comes all the way back up the wall. And that is not the only books I have. I've got a whole bunch of others upstairs as well. So yeah, and it's on a lot of subjects. It's kind of on a lot of weird subjects. I've tried to sort my science over there with my science, and then my biblical linguistics and archaeology over there. And then that's all of my photocopies while I was in college of all the myths, mythology, and esoteric materials over here. Greeks, Greek history, Greek language, and all that jazz. A lot of Old Testament stuff there. A lot of historical Jesus and New Testament stuff here. A lot of Mormon stuff here. My books on infinity and science down here. My Isaac Asimov collection, along with several of my mathematical books up there. Lots of crazy crap. Fun stuff. Anyone know someone who is grumpy and looks like Charles Bronson? I would say Charles Bronson. Yeah, that poor guy. Nick Nolte. Yeah, Nick Nolte is the other Enoch. Yeah, he is. Oh. Okay. Eyes to see and scientific discernment to know. Oh, I love that. My good friend Timmer23. Yeah, very good. Question. All right, I like questions. Why is it they always try to suppress religion? Oh, you already asked that, and I answered it. Okay. I see, said the blind man. Yeah. All right, all right. Chris Lado keeps digging himself deeper into a hole with his balloon story. Oh, another yes, do Enoch. Okay, I will, you guys. Look, it's one of my favorite topics. I studied it for years. I mean, that was part of my incentive for trying to learn Hebrew. I did not become overly adept at Hebrew. I mean, I could read it. But what I did do is second best. I went and got all of the dictionaries, the etymological dictionaries, all of the language books, etc., so that I can literally look up anything and analyze it. And I've got the Logos Bible software, which is incredible. So yeah, I ran out of time, I guess I could say. I guess I didn't make it that much of a priority, but going to the Hebrew and the Greek is very, very important, and it's very, very fun. Can I look into the Boogosphere? Yes, I can. No, I haven't yet. Yeah, I hope I'm wrong. I'm not trying to prejudge because I will look at it, but I fear that the Boogosphere is going to end up being like 3i Atlas. All hype and no substance. At least for the UFO interpretation. And I'll be happy to be proven wrong. I'm not going die hard on it, but yeah, I haven't got to it yet. Yeah, see, it looks like there's several in the comments who are saying it's been shown to be a hoax, and that was kind of my understanding. So, yeah, It would be nice to hear more about the new science of heaven and the possibilities of the spiritual meets technological side. That's exactly why I'm keeping a journal. I'm going to see if I can do that myself. But yeah, I'm with you. I get it. I'm with you on that one, Timmer. We shall see. I don't know. Yeah, I'm having trouble taking Greer seriously too. I get it. Yeah. All right. They're saying it's 25,000 years old. Okay, that's interesting. Dead fish cheese spread has a good point too. You see them all the time, but no videos. That doesn't add up. Yeah, good point. All right. Oh, not a big deal, Galactic. You're good. All right. The scientist holding the Boogosphere won't release it to independent scientific analysis. Ross Coldhart said he could blame him, though, as items in the past have been made lost. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, there's so many. There's politics are involved with it now and all that. I don't know if it's worth my time. Cool. On your channel? What do you mean by that? Talking about the Book of Enoch? Yes, I will talk about the Book of Enoch on my channel. In fact, it'll probably be a pretty long spiel. I don't know. There's a lot to it. It's quite fun. And again, the Book of Enoch is one of those subjects where I'm going to piss off and disappoint half this audience and shock the other half. It's weird that way. Maybe that's why they suppressed, the religions, because it is so divisive. People know their interpretation is right, and they would rather crucify you than let you have your say, trying to show you that they are justified in having their own belief. That's what's weird about religion. Religion brings out the very, 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 very worst in people. And that's the problem with it. It shouldn't do that, but it does. So, this Book of Enoch may very well make me enemies where I have absolutely no intention of doing so. But you watch, it could happen. It's weird how that works. Well, you're teaching false doctrine. You're going to hell, Mr. Professor. They always worry about sending your sorry ass to hell. Who gives a shit what they think? How come that if someone thinks differently than you do, they're going to hell? That's just immature, imbecile, moron stupidity, in my opinion. But the judgment jumps so fast when you're talking about a religious subject. I don't know if you're aware of that or not, but that's the downside of it all. But yeah, the Book of Enoch I will approach. Well, I mean, you got history and you do have ancient politics and all that. Yeah. All right. What's my opinion of Billy Meyer? Can I get back with you on that? I don't know. I loved you in the Death Wish series. It was my favorite movie to do. I am not Charles Bronson, but thank you for the compliment. Instead of his looks, I wish I just got his money. But then the trouble is I'd spend it, and then I wouldn't look as handsome or tough as he does. So, yeah. Isaac Asimov Foundation. Quick story. For whatever reason, and the defect is mine, I guarantee it. It's me. The problem is with me. I loved his science speculations. I absolutely thrilled in reading Asimov. I could not get into his science fiction, though. Isn't that weird? It just did nothing for me. And I'm so sorry for that. But I still have. I mean, you got Asimov on astronomy, Asimov on numbers, Asimov, the relativity of wrong, science, numbers, and I, Asimov on science, X stands for unknown, Asimov, understanding physics, all 3 volumes, Asimov, the scientific autobiography of scientists, Asimov, the roving mind. I mean, I've got lots and lots of his science books, but man, I promise I tried to read his science fiction, and for whatever dumb reason, I couldn't do it. Isn't that weird? I'm telling you, there's a defect here somewhere. But yeah. All right. Okay, the Galactic Family Podcast. This is interesting. Backyard Professor, I just found this. Yes, the CIA declassified documents in 2013 that included excerpts from a book titled The Adam and Eve Story by Chan Thomas, which discussed a coming catastrophe. I'll be darned. I did not know that. Thank you for sharing it. Here we go. Exactly right. Dale C., you're great. Yeah, when you learn Hebrew, you can see the tricks that the church has played on the Bible. No better way than to exit the religion. I've got to say, I'd have a hard time arguing about that. Yeah, because once you start getting into the Hebrew and the Greek, you realize how the churches have, what's a charitable way of putting this, cheated you on knowing what the scripture really means. And that is being charitable, man. So yeah, it's fun stuff. All right. I have actually, hey Timmer, Doug Vogt, I will look him up. Shows the Hebrew language may be formed by the shape of a torus. I have seen that somewhere. Yeah, that is exquisite. Yeah, the stuff that the Jewish rabbis and the Zohar rabbis and the medieval mystic rabbis do with the Hebrew is absolutely staggering. And I'm going to try like crazy to put as much of it as I can in my journal, because that stuff is spectacular fun. Oh, the Zohar will go over your head. It's so deep. It's so amazing. Okay. All right. Kitty Gundy, thank you. Enoch would be great, I think, if approached with an open mind, and questioning is always a positive thing. Yeah, I will analyze a lot of stuff. I haven't played chess for a while, Charles. I sincerely just don't have time. I wish I did, but it takes a lot of effort. I'm just saying it takes a lot of commitment. I don't have that kind of time anymore. Other sheep. Salute to you, my friend. The man who gave me this whole idea of the esoteric journal, when he visited me, and I thumbed through his magnificent stuff he's got. This guy is a hell of an artist too. How you doing, man? First and last religious class at BYU, Enoch. Shallow, narrow, boring views. Yeah, that's because they were Mormonizing him. We both know that. But the real Enoch, now he's interesting. It's so interesting because the invented Enoch is so much more fascinating than the real one in the Bible. Isn't that nuts? That's crazy, isn't it? It will be interesting to see what kind of a portrait we come up with for Enoch. I mean, he's one of the big esoteric people, right? So in our esoteric journal, we'll have to figure out what Enoch looked like. That'll be fun. Okay. Let's see. If I had $1 for every dollar I've ever had, I'd have a lot of dollars. Boy, isn't that the truth? Woohoo! Yeah. 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 Well, I actually side with Joseph Smith on that one. You guys are talking about going to hell and all that. Sure, yeah, let's go to hell, but we'll make a heaven of it. I like that attitude. Hell just doesn't scare me. That's a gimmick. It's a man-made doctrine. It doesn't have any bearing on anything. And yet the principle, see, when you literalize the symbol, hell, it's an eternal fire, you'll never escape, etc. You literalize it to scare the snot out of everybody, right? But you miss the importance of it. It's not real, but it is symbolic and important for spiritual growth to understand it in context. Criminy, maybe I'll do a video on hell. It's fascinating, I'm telling you. No joke. All right. Okay. Loving life. Better late than never. Welcome. Glad you're here. Why is everything doom and gloom for humanity? It's not. That's why I'm doing my esoteric journal. It's not gloom and doom for humanity. It's absolutely glorious. But you gotta open your eyes and seek it out, or it can be gloom and doom, but it's not inevitable. So I'm an optimist, that's just my approach. I'm just saying. There we go. Timmer has the right approach. Atlantis went way over my head until I realized what alchemical colors the magnum opus consisted of, and the Hopi traditions, and so on. Exactly right. They literalized Atlantis and completely lost the meaning. See, we have this myopic view that only the literal can be true, and that is literally false. How's that? Come on, that's a pretty good paradox. Come on, give me credit for that one. That was good. It came just right off the top of my head. Yeah. Yes, it is. Other sheep, he's saying the Zohar stuff is mind-boggling. Went down a Petra Renes rabbit hole today. Oh, boy. Hey, have you read this one, Other Sheep? This is by one of my very favorite authors, Jean Markel, The Church of Mary Magdalene. This is all about Rene Chateau. Yeah, good stuff. You want mystical esotericism. Woo, there you go. Holy cow. The Bogomils and all those guys, the medieval times. Aren't you glad we live today and not then? Oh, man. Well, I'm going to try to, yes. Heaven sounds like the most boring place ever. Sounds like hell to me. I disagree, and that's why I'm doing my esoteric journal. I'm not trying to pick a fight, but heaven is absolutely going to be fantastic. What you're rebelling against is the ridiculous, idiotic, myopic, medieval version of which today's churches cannot grow up out of. They're still in their immature baby phase when it comes to what heaven is. That would be my response. So anyway, all right. If it's okay, please tell us more about your esoteric journal. I will, Charles. Thank you for your interest. That makes me happy. Yeah. Let me keep going in it and sharing some stuff, and I will. When you go back to the first of this video and what I go through it pretty extensive up to where I am with it. But as I continue on, I will share more of it with you. I think it's a great idea that a lot of people should be doing. So, but yeah. Well, thank you, Ezekiel. Yeah, those darn rabbit holes. There you go. Okay, Timmer. Someone showed me a symbol long ago and asked what it meant. I gave multiple interpretation and asked which one was right. They said all of them. And that is what drives Orthodox religion crazy. That's why they condemn you, put you to the stake, and crucified the Christ. That is so fascinating. That is so interesting. I love that. Yep. Oh, heaven is here. Hermes Trismegistus, my man. As above, so below. You are correct. Heaven is here. Very fascinating. Yeah, Alice in Wonderland, the rabbit hole she goes down. There's something to that. Now, that is see, if you were to literalize Alice in Wonderland, you would be called a kook, and properly so. But why is it when you literalize the Bible, you're called blessed? Because it's the same principle. You literalize Alice in Wonderland and you will never grasp its incredible significance. When you literalize the Bible, you're in the same boat with the same problem. But churches don't want you to realize that, because it's worth a lot of money to them to scare you so bad you give them the money to stay out of hell. And the whole setup is a complete farce. Tell them Charles Bronson sent you. All right. All right, you guys. Wow, what a fun time tonight. Oh boy, we're at an hour and a half. What are you guys doing still here? Aren't you bored with me yet? What a fun discussion with you guys. It's always fun with you guys. That's because you've got brains. I so appreciate your inquiries and your intellect and your intelligence and your spirituality and your skepticism and your challenges. Man, I like everything about you guys. That's what it's all about, you know. Like I said in my infinity essay, we spiral upwards into ever newer and newer and newer, not only experiences, but knowledge, wisdom, capabilities. You know, you do something enough times, you become a master of it. Well, then if you change and start doing something else, you become a master of that. Well, how many things do you want to master? Well, you have an infinity to do it, and you have an infinite number of things. Now, what could be more heavenly? No, you're not going to get it done all in this lifetime. You're not meant to. Quit sweating the big stuff. Don't even sweat the small stuff. All right, you guys. Appreciate you. I'm going to head out. I hope you guys have a blessed week and a good time. I will begin. Yes, I did too. Thank you for being here, Timmer. Absolutely. I will be putting together some information on Enoch. Absolutely. There is an incredible connection of Enoch in the esoteric tradition that I guarantee it will blow your minds if you haven't studied it before. This goes way deep. I promise. It is amazing. So, all right. Yes, it has. I will. You guys too. I will catch up to you soon. Watch this week for more videos. I'm going to kick them out like crazy. And I will start working on the Enoch stuff. Woohoo! And my esoteric journal. I'll tell you more about that too. All right, you guys. Love y'all, but I got to go. Have a great night.